Does God hurt us in order to help us? Like, does he really make certain things happen to help us? Like, really bad things happen in order to get us on course and all these types of things? This is a question that I get all the time, especially when I am talking to people who are not close with God, don't believe in God, or have gone through some crazy, traumatic, tragic events. And so today I want to have a conversation about what I believe as it pertains to if God makes bad things happen to good people, so to speak. So, welcome back to another episode of the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, where we talk about all things you, me, and Jesus. Today, we are having a sensitive conversation about does God hurt us in order to help us? And like, there's this part of me that doesn't really know where to start with it because I feel like that this could kind of ruffle feathers on the internet. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but there's the potential, of that. But I just feel like I should also just share, no matter what people are thinking or feeling. So let me just kind of take you back to where I kind of see God just in general, right? So God created the heavens and the earth, right? He created Adam and Eve. He created Adam. He gave Adam a job, and then he put Adam to sleep, took a rib out of Adam, created Eve, right? So then he does all the things with creating the planet and all the things. He creates all the things, right? And if we go back to just Adam and Eve, okay? God was kind by going to them and basically saying, okay, here is all the land. Here's everything. You can do whatever you want here, except don't eat from this particular tree. Just don't eat from there. Just don't do that. But all the things, right? And then a snake comes along. The devil comes along, not God. God doesn't send the devil. God doesn't send a snake to manipulate Eve into eating from the tree of good and evil, which then she makes a decision to invite Adam to eat from the tree of good and evil, right? Here was what God said and what his plan was. And here was the enemy who came in and did X, Y, and Z. Okay. So then let's just take it to present day today. We've got the human race, right? You've got man, woman, people all on the world, right? And we are all given a level of what is right and what is wrong, right? Like we all go to school and we learn this is right, this is wrong. We all learn like this is the truth, this is telling a lie, right? This is being honest and this is lying. This is being truthful, this is being manipulative, right? You go to the store, this bag of chips is $2. You can't walk out with the bag of chips. You have to go to the register and pay the $2 in order to walk out with the chips. We all have that awareness of that fact, right? So we are all aware of when we do good things, the result typically of doing something good. We all know that if we do bad things, the result of doing bad things, right? And so if a person chooses to do something that is harmful to someone else, this person is aware of what they are doing, so to speak, and they know that this is not right. You should not do this thing that you want to do because this is right and this is wrong. So I look at someone who, let's just say a person, he sees a woman, he chooses to harm her, right? He chooses to harm her, right? She knows don't harm this man in general when she sees him. He knows don't harm this woman when he sees her. He chooses to harm her, right? God didn't tell him to harm her. God doesn't say, wake him up in that morning and say, hey, you're going to see a woman and I want you to go do this, this, and this. Or he's walking down the street and he sees this woman. God doesn't say, hey, you see her over there? Go and do this. He does not do that, right? He doesn't say, okay, here is Tasha. And in order for Tasha to become the very best version of herself, I'm going to go and tell John to go and harm her. Because John harming her is going to cause her to become the very best version of herself. Like when we break it down like that, it sounds wild, right? And so I think that one of the things that's happening on the planet is I think that we people are often looking for someone to blame, right? Which I understand. Okay. So for example, if I have been through, look, for example, I had a huge growth in my body and I had to have surgery. I am looking for somebody to blame for how in the world did I get these growths in my stomach? What happened to cause that to happen? And some people believe that God did that to show me a lesson, a healing lesson, a whatever lesson, whatever. But I don't think God operates like that. I think I don't think he's like that. Now, there is the scripture that says that he will make beauty for ashes, right? That he will turn everything around for the good. Oftentimes, that scripture is taken in the context of bad things are going to happen, and he's going to take those bad things and turn them into good. That is the truth, right? But that doesn't equate to I am going to make bad things happen to you, and when they happen, I'm going to turn them around for the good. That doesn't make sense, right? Like, I mean, we see these crazy TV shows where you've got these people who are hurting people because they're trying to come up with new medical science or whatever, right? Or we hear about how you have rats or animals in places and they are harming these animals or whatever in an effort to find out how to heal humans or whatever, right? We're not going to get into all that today, but I'm just saying. And so oftentimes people feel like, well, yeah, that's God. He wants them to suffer in order to help other people, right? But I don't think that God is like that. I just don't. I think that here is God. Here is perfection. Here is God's intention. Here is how he meant for things to go, things to be, all the things. And then here is us, right? Us and all of our complexities. Here we are on earth, and we get this opportunity of choosing right or wrong. And I think what is happening is that we are choosing wrong. We're choosing to do this and this and this and this and this. For example, here in America, we have quite the problem with our food system. Quite the problem. We are allowed to have all of these things in our country that so many countries are like, ain't no way that would ever happen here, right? So I went to the Target one day with a friend from London, and she was in shock at how much medicine we were allowed to purchase over the counter. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, you guys got 500 Tylenol here just sitting out. Anybody can just buy it. She was like, we cannot buy that in London. And my initial thinking was, yeah, they're trying to deprive you guys. But what I'm realizing is that that's not actually the case. That, let's just say Tylenol, for example, that Tylenol helps us to not feel pain in that moment, but it doesn't actually fix the actual reason we are in pain. It doesn't get to the root. So it keeps us in this cycle of taking these pain meds and not actually taking care of the root problem, you know? And so I'm like, oh, well, let's look at that in the sense of who is benefiting from the loop. Well, if we continuously are buying Tylenol, then Target is making money. The makers of Tylenol are making money. The manufacturers of the box that Tylenol is in and the bottle and the the cap and all the things, they're all making money. Our government is making money. So there's a potential that keep us in the loop so that all the chains continue to make money. You've got the food system here in America, and we are subject to all these things that we should not be taking into our bodies, which could cause sickness, disease, and all this stuff. But for whatever reason, the FDA, our government, and all the things are saying it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, because there's a looping of here's what if they eat, they get sick, they go to hospital, and then now everybody, there's this money thing that's kind of happening with all that. I don't think that that was ever God's plan. I think that God created the heavens and the earth, and he had intentions on us what to eat. And if we eat these things, we'll be okay. But then we started to create different things. Like, for example, I'm here, there's a light, there's a camera, we're on the internet, there's Wi-Fi, there's a mic, there's all these things that are happening. I know that I was never meant to have all this light at me, that I was never meant for having the Wi-Fi and the forced air and all the things and the potential impact that it's having on my body. And if it impacts me negatively, God didn't do that. All of my choices of choosing to have light and forced air and this and this and this and this and that is having a compound impact potentially on my body. And if someone gets cancer, right, and something happened within that person's body, or if a mom has a child and the child gets cancer really quickly, something is happening in that cycle of a thing with the woman's body and the kid's body that then, produces cancer or whatever, And oftentimes people feel like, well, God's trying to teach people a lesson. It's like, that's not how God is. Like, he's not like that. Now, do I have the answer of how these things happen 100%? I don't have that specific answer. I think it's all individual. But God doesn't give us hard things to happen in our lives to teach us lessons. Like, I didn't have a great dad growing up, but some of my friends do have great dads. And the dads that I have met that are good dads don't let their kids wreck their car just to teach them how to drive. No. Dads get their son or daughter in a car. They take them to a field where they cannot hurt anybody. And they teach them how to drive, or in an empty parking lot. And they teach them how to drive in an empty parking lot, right? Because they're trying to teach them, but to keep them from hurting themselves, them, and other people, right? Good dads don't say, here's the keys to a car, go learn how to drive. No, he doesn't say, all right, here is all these machine guns, go and do whatever you want to do, and I'll bail you out if anything happens. No, good dads don't do that. Dads say, we're going to go hunting. I'm going to teach you how to shoot, and we're only hunters. We don't hurt people. Good dads do that. And so that's the exact same way that God is. I think that we have just become angry because of things happening or whatever, and we want and need somebody to blame. Me included. When I've had bad things happen, like when I found out that my ex-husband was being unfaithful, I wanted to blame everybody. Why didn't y'all tell me? Why didn't you tell me this? And God, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you? And at some point in time, he said, I did. He was like, I was talking to you. You just weren't talking to me. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? He goes, I gave you a couple dreams. I gave some of your friends dreams. You didn't come to me and ask me what I was trying to say to you. You weren't praying to me, asking me if you need to marry this guy. You weren't doing that. You were doing what you wanted to do and then got the result that you got because you were choosing to do what you wanted to do versus consulting with me. And that was quite the hard pill to swallow. I did not want to accept the fact that this was a choice that I made. Now, he was doing what he was doing, so that was a whole nother thing. But I was not someone who was really submitting to God and trying to really, really understand what was going on. And what could potentially happen, I didn't. And so I had to go, okay, this is not on God. He didn't tell me to do that. And so I can't go and blame him. You know, when I think about the tumors that I had in my body, I'm like, okay, what are some of the potential causes of what happened in my body? Do I think God gave me tumors? No. But do I think it's the result of all the things that's happening in the earth, the food, the medicines, and all the stuff? Yes. It makes total sense why my body would start creating all these random things, because it doesn't really know what's going on. And so it's creating tumors, you know? And so like I had to stop being angry with God about that and blaming God about that, because he had nothing to do with it. You know, people also say, well, why couldn't he stop it? That's the answer I don't have. I don't have that answer of like, if he's so amazing, why couldn't he stop all these bad things from happening? I don't 100% have that answer. We'll talk about that in another episode maybe. But in this particular episode, we're talking about, does he hurt us to help us? No, that's just not how he operates, or how, like, we don't hurt our friends to help them. We don't hurt ourselves to help us. Why would the God who created us, created the whole earth, why would he do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I get why people would think that way. And so today, I just wanted to have that conversation and tell you that if something bad is happening in your life, God didn't send it to you to help you, to teach you a lesson. That's not how this works. That's not how he works. He's a really nice father. He's a really good guy. He's just like you. You're not going to go and hurt somebody to help them. No, you're going to try your best to help them before they get hurt. Same way. And if you think about you and all your complexities, why would he not be better? He's like the creator of the universe. You know, so if you are ministering to somebody who feels like God is hurting them, I really would encourage you to take the time to actually explain to them that what's happening with them or happened to them, God didn't send that. That's not how this operates. That if bad things are happening in your life, it's because the devil is in some of that, right? Now, obviously we have choice, right? But also the enemy is also like trying to do his best to do his thing. Okay. God doesn't send bad things. He rescues us when we're in a bad situation, and he tries to rescue us, especially when we're being disobedient, you know, but he doesn't send bad things to make you learn something. Okay. So if you're ministering to somebody, they're dealing with that, it's really important that you take a moment and help them understand that. If you are talking to yourself and you're dealing with something, it's really important that you come to the conclusion and the awareness of that those bad things did not come from God, and he doesn't need to hurt you in order to help you. Okay. So if you have any questions about this, I really want you to talk to me. Whether you are on the podcast, come talk to me on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, talk to me here. I really need you to understand that he's not hurting you to help you. That's just not how this works. Okay. So thank you so much for listening and watching.